If you're familiar with the works of Eastern thinkers, then you might be familiar with the term impermanence. Today we're going to talk more about how to apply this concept to live a more fulfilling and stress-free life. Hey y'all, it's Simply by Being. One thing that I've been thinking about recently is how often I look around and see so many people attached to the permanence of any given variable X. Think about it. When you think of how much people want to last, take a second to think about that. Think about how much that you want to last on a regular basis. What are you currently seeking right now that may be attached to the idea of permanence? I want lasting blank. I want this to last forever. We may be conditioned to seek permanence through our cultural systems, our economic systems, our market systems. There are so many places where we are conditioned into believing that permanence is key, and that permanence is what we should be looking for and what we should be striving for. And that cannot be further from the truth, unfortunately. What about those of you who don't naturally really seek permanence? You'll probably stick out like a sore thumb, especially in the societies that we have today. You're probably going to seem weird, and you might just be a nonlinear person who's nonlinear, like a multipotentialite, or somebody who doesn't want to specialize, will have a hard time trying to fit in a system that is based upon linear processes. Do you ever think about how whenever a theory was considered groundbreaking, there was usually a whole entire period of vehement hostility against the theory? It's usually, oh my God, we hate this. It's just, society hates this, or society is trying to correct this thing, right? Well, you could think about that in many ways. That essentially is people not being able to accept growth and decay in different ways. Growth and decay of different thought forms, different beliefs. When you live within a concept of impermanence, what's really nice is that it does make you happier in general. Not saying that you always will be happy, because then that would be contradicting the concept of impermanence, right? So that's the cool part about impermanence, is that you realize that, hey, I'm not always going to be happy. I'm not always going to be a certain way. You just allow yourself to be. The way I think about it is like an oscillating waveform, a wave that's going up and down. Like if you think of a sine wave. The way I think about impermanence is that way. That if something was permanent, then all of a sudden you would just go on a constant. What does that remind you of? To me, that reminds me of the flat line, the heartbeat, the oscillation of a heartbeat. That's how you know that that thing is alive. That without that oscillation, then you would not be living. Ask yourself, do you really want things to remain permanent? Or would you rather experience life as it is for as long as you're here? One thing I really like about impermanence also is that you see failures, you see flaws in logic, you see all of that just more clearly. And, I'm not trying to say that there's really a duality between logic and emotions, because I think that there's so much that can be created out of a connection of both happening at the same time. However, there's something about not being so emotionally invested in your understanding of failures and that kind of stuff, because what's really nice is that it's no longer about, I failed, I am a failure. Failure is not something that belongs to you. You failed, and that's okay. Whereas I think a lot of people would see me as super direct, because I am a person who is like that. I'm like, okay, cool, I failed. Well, it's time to jump up and do it again. Cool, I was wrong. All right, great. Whatever. Cool, I made a mistake. Doesn't matter, like at the end of the day, when you have accepted a concept of impermanence, it doesn't matter because you know that sometimes you'll be right, sometimes you'll be wrong. There is something that is not so hyper dualistic about it. It's like always having to be this either or this or. You truly let go of expectations. You can live in paradoxes much more easily. And a paradox essentially is just two opposing worldviews, maybe. It's just two opposing thought forms, essentially. So when you really think about it that way, impermanence really helps you live in all of these different states. You don't worry about productivity over time. You don't worry about how much is produced over time. That is very much what I like to call a factory mentality. That's something that you don't need to bring into this process. This is something that, like I tell people, leave the factory mentality where it belongs, at work. But if you're looking to be creative, if you're looking to do things where it feels like you're doing them simply by being, when you really wake up and you just do it because you're passionate about it, that's something else. And it's a beautiful feeling. Don't make your goal how much time you're going to spend on a thing. That is not going to actually motivate you. You'll just think, oh, well, I spent 2 hours on this. Okay, tomorrow I have to spend 2 hours on this again. That is not how you want to do anything. The best way not to instantly suck the life out of that project is to set goals about what you want to do, what you want to accomplish that day. So if you're building a chair, you don't think, oh, I'm going to spend 2 hours on the chair today, and then I'm going to spend 2 hours on the chair tomorrow. No. What you want to do is say, okay, I want to build this side today. I want to be able to finish it by this day. And I don't mean finish, I guess maybe I shouldn't have used that. I mean like apply finishing to the wood. But anyway, make your goals much more passion-based, passion over productivity. Very important. And I will have a video on passion over productivity because it's very important. But passion over productivity, to me, that is my equation for creativity. Creativity equals passion is greater than productivity. The passion matters more than the productivity. So that meaning value, that semantic value is so important if you want to get anything done. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need structure and that you don't need deadlines. There are some people who do need that. But what I'm saying is first check and see if it's really coming from here first, because any structure that spans out of that will be good deadlines for you. Any structure out of that will be good structure for you because you're already passionate about the project. Just don't commit until you know that you're passionate about it. I don't actually give myself deadlines, and I actually tell people, don't use deadlines. You can use something that is much less rigid that will help you get something done. If you really want to do it, then you would wake up and you would be thinking about it already, and then you would do it. It's really not that difficult. If you are truly passionate about something, you will not have a hard time doing it. You would live it. You would breathe it. And you may be thinking, what in the world did that have to do with impermanence? But it does. It has everything to do with impermanence because creativity is all about the ebb and flow. It's all about the oscillation. It's about creating sometimes and not creating other times. That's what it's all about. And being okay with that gives that ebb and flow much more freedom to do its thing. I do want to say that I am very aware of many of our viewers who may be struggling with clinical depression, anything like that, where passion may be so foreign to you at this point. And that's not really what I'm talking about here. But what I am saying is that if you do need to find that in your life, then yes, going to see a therapist and maybe getting medication will help us get back on a track where we're following the things that we're passionate about. But being concerned about time is not going to really do anything. The most important thing you want to do to actually complete something is, well, number one, does it come from here? Is it really a passion? Is it something that you already wake up, live, and breathe? If not, I would reconsider what you're doing. If it's primarily extrinsic value, it's about maybe how others would regard it, then you might want to see how you really want to do something like here, because you won't have a hard time doing something you want to do. To me, the first thing I would do is I would give myself much more flexibility. Give yourself some flexibility so you can look and see what you really want to do. Give yourself enough time before you even commit to something. I think a lot of people just commit to something primarily because of the extrinsic value. As far as extrinsic value is concerned, you can look at my video on extrinsic value below. And impermanence, to me anyway, is accepting natural growth, gradual growth, and gradual decay, the ebb and flow of linear and nonlinear systems. That's essentially my personal definition for it, but perhaps you have a different one. The more that you play with these ideas, the more that you will have your own definition about it. The way that you see the world is very important, and that's what's so cool about impermanence, is that you know that there's not meant to be one anything. The more we fight against that, the more issues that we tend to have. And as I talked about growth and decay earlier, like I said, that impermanence is natural because of growth and decay. Well, it's also very important to say that permanence is very unnatural. Permanence often can mess up ecosystems. It can mess up so many different parts of our world, and it can really harm our planet because our need for permanence is going against the natural order of gradual growth and gradual decay. When we come in and affect things by sudden growth, sudden exponential growth, or sudden decay, it's just not something that really works with the natural ebb and flow of life. So if you're looking to be inspired to action right now, go ahead and book a chat with me sometime. It's completely free, and I would just like to hang out and connect with you. I'll put my calendar link in the video description below. Spots are non-permanent, so act quickly. They won't be there forever, unfortunately. So please like and subscribe so we can get out to the people who really need it. Thanks, and ciao!